Hey, what's going on, guys? Double 18 Sat Shadow here. So, I've been talking about these reprints that have been coming out in Set 9 for the last few market watches, and Set 9 just released in Japan today, so I got some insight as to the triple R reprints that we're expecting. Stuff like Brainwash, Swirler, Inlet Pulse, Trick Moon, and I've got some bad news. The ratios for a case of these triple R reprints is that in one case of set 9, you get one copy of each of the reprints plus one extra. So in total, you'll get about 6 cards per case among the triple R reprints, meaning that you'll basically only get one copy of each and then one extra copy of just any random one of the 5. To make matters worse, the picture that I saw was that of the Cardinal Draco being the extra pull, which really sucks. But that was a possibility that I covered at one point, given that Bushiroad did do this with set 7 too. But set 7, when it came to the triggers, was still far better than what they just did here. And it's painful to see them do something like this. I don't even know what the trigger ratios are this time for set 9. I'm assuming it's 1 per box again, but I haven't heard anything about that. But in any case, we still have to get our copies of set 9 boxes at the end of March, and it's looking more and more like we're not actually going to get the triggers. We're instead getting that second wave of reprints that I mentioned that had Bobelmine, Mega, and Painkiller in them. So I'm guessing those are supposed to be the replacement to the triggers, but your guess is as good as mine as to what the actual ratios of those are going to be. Ultimately, I would still anticipate that there aren't going to be that many. If anything, you might just get 12 reprints overall tops, and that's it. That's what I'm gonna guess, given that Bushiroad has historically not been that generous. They've usually been more generous with the non-Japanese market in the past, but we'll just have to see. In any case, if you do need to pick up stuff that's getting reprinted in set 9, just know you're not likely to get a playset of what you're looking for. So for cards like Brainwash Swirler, currently the market's at $40 for these minimum. There's still a fair amount of copies for the low listings, but ultimately it's got more listings at $50 right now. So if you do want to pick up Brainwash Swirler, now might be the best time to do so. There might be a bit of a dip when set 9 comes out with hopes and anticipations, but if you miss that dip, it's gonna all depend on luck at this point. Spiritual Body Condensation. The SP copy of this has been going up in value over time. Normally used to sell around the $15 mark as of a few months ago, and there were still a few copies just above that. Only one actually sold above $20 so far, but that was a full play set. Or actually there were some more from back here. But yeah, ultimately this card is still hovering $15 all the way to $30. It's very rare for it to actually sell closer to $30. But it is a generic revival for Stoichia, though they have an abundance of those, so you'll usually be conflicted playing this versus other thematic versions. Precious Tune Etwig, the effect crit for Lyrical Monasterio. This card comes out of set 2 and has been seeing a buyout recently. There are only 4 listings available right now, and my set also just got bought out on here. We're looking at $10, and then there is a $7 listing with 8 copies. Has a lot of sales for 100%, so that seems okay. But ultimately, it is quite a jump when you look at how it was $4 a little while back, $5, and now we're back up here. This card has hit close to $10 before. It might again. The thing is, aside from the Festival Collection support, we don't really have any news on new Lyrical Melody support. So it's interesting to see this card go up now of all times. Kadwala from the Skyfall Executor's trial deck. This card only comes from that trial deck so far. And currently it just has the common printing that you can get along with the foil printing you would get from the expansion pack. There is a $16 listing here, but don't be fooled. That's the only $16 listing there, and then it goes up to $20 over here. It has been selling under $15 for a little while, and we have had $20 sells. It is a generic card you can play in Cater Sanctuary after all. Essentially, it replaces itself as long as you retire it after its battle, so once it finishes attacking the Vanguard, you get a card from the top 3 of your deck, or you just draw a card outright if you don't like any of the 3 cards. The common version of this is $4 to start off with. Hopefully that's not... Ooh, but that's a lot of copies available, so... Yeah, you've got a good amount of $4 copies. So... not a bad price to get into on this one. You can play it in a variety of decks. Especially now that Carebray is really expensive, this makes for a decent alternative. Valkyrie Performer. This card has gone up in value from $10. It's been jumping around from 20 to 10. Sometimes it gets a little lower than that. But we're down to 4 listings overall, starting at 18. It has been selling at 20. The only listings are 20 until you get to this one over here, which is 25. Let me see here. Well, I say it had been jumping up to 20 at some points, but I guess it just didn't really sell up at that point. I anticipate this is mostly due to Lukier hype, but ultimately Valkyrie Performer is a generic card that you can play in a lot of Dark States decks. As for the frame rare, let's take a look here. $35. We have listings at $30 and below, but $35 is a buying price. So if you want to max rarity this, you might need to buy in at this point. Welstra. This card is getting support in set 9, which I immediately dismissed when I saw it, and I mistakenly did so. I thought this card would drop to $5 given that, until I realized it has a 5 attack combo with the new support on your first grade 3 turn. It is combo piece dependent though, but if you can get it off, it's a really scary combo. But if anything, it almost makes it feel like it's going to be another Orfist in that case, where it can do early game rushes, and now that it's got some card advantage to go along with it, it could potentially be a rogue deck that could be used along inside the meta. We'll have to see. Since set 9 released today in Japan, we might see some Wellstras bring it home. But in any case, price-wise, it's looking at about $8, which... $9 overall. Not bad in my opinion. I mean, I ended up buying into it again at this price after selling them way cheaper. We'll have to see where it goes, but I intend to build this deck. So, it's a cool deck overall, and the character who plays it in the anime is also just really cool. Diablo's Diver Julian is under $10 right now. Just barely, though. We do have a good amount of listings. But with Viamon Spruce coming out in 1 more month for us, and now that we've got Viamon Spruce in Japan, we're going to see some results come up with the next few weeks. So, given that Julian has gone up to 25 in the past, it might be a good idea to get into it around this point. The lowest I've ever seen this card was just on release at about $4 or $5. But then it just kind of held at $7 for quite a while before jumping really high. It is a card that can be played with either Viamance or the original Violence Bruce, So it is generic enough to play in any variant of Bruce that you want to try out. Bushiroad announced some new Greedon support today, and I'm not sure if this had an influence on Kuviski's frame rare, but overall, you can pick up the double R right now for about 50 cents. And then it pretty much crosses into the dollar range until you get to the second page where you'll find at least a few more 50-cent copies to pick up. As for the framer, let me see the history here. I mean, it has been climbing as of late, but it looks like the $5 copies got bought out just a few days ago, so the news just dropped today, so I guess it had no influence. But this card is pretty good for Greedon overall. With combos allowing you to call cards from your hand, this card will give them additional power, and then it lets you countercharge, so it opens up a bunch more combos with more counterblast heavy Greedon support. Star Aggression Dragon, the common vanilla trigger from set 6. It's gone. Why is it gone? I don't know. Why did it sell for $1, 50 cents, 75 cents en masse pretty consistently? I don't know. It's had a lot of sales recently. I just don't know. The problem now is that this was the cheapest vanilla crit trigger that we had for Brantgate. The only other ones we've got are from set 1 and the Tomari trial deck. Those are expensive. Those were already $1 or higher. And now we've got this guy sold out. So I don't know what's going on here, but it's not looking good for Brantgate being rather affordable when the triggers are starting to become dollars. But I digress. Another sold out card is the holo version of Amazement Magician from set 5. This is a generic Soul Charger card. In comparison to most other Dark States cards, which don't really have much condition in order to Soul Charge, this can Soul Charge every turn by attacking. It doesn't have to attack Vanguard, and it doesn't have to hit like a few other cards. I imagine that players have just been wanting to test this with the new Griffa gear, as well as just the fact that it's a nice looking card on top of being a generic support. Yeah, we'll have to see if it actually makes any strides, but if you want the holofoil, you're going to have to shop around a bit to see if you can find it. Then something interesting to wrap this up. There are a number of new promo cards that got added to TCG Player, which I didn't know they had released these, and I'm not even sure where they released these. But Trickstar now has an alternate art. It exists in Japan already, of course. A monochrome sort of alternate art where it's full art as well. Ultimately, I like how this looks. It is very beautiful, despite the fact that it's black and white. But I do want to find out the background of how this actually came out. If you guys know, feel free to leave a comment, because I'm very curious. Right now, there are only $30 listings, and there really aren't that many, kind of like the last promo pack of Set 7. But this is a reprint of Trickstar, so unless players really just get into this one compared to the others, because the DSR still exists, I don't think you'll have to worry about this being too high in value. Thanks for watching today, guys. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any requests, and I'll see if I can incorporate them next time. So, I'll see you guys later.